Welcome. Come on in. Everybody have a seat. I see some new faces in the crowd. I see some familiar faces. I see Martin Dale. I see Brian Davis, Anna Manukian. There's Jesse. There's Karina. A lot of familiar faces. Makes it a little bit easier to stand up in front of a crowd. Sometimes. So, how is everybody today? Awesome. So how many of you have ever been on social media? How many of you have been on YouTube? How many of you have watched a YouTube video? How many of you have watched a YouTube video to learn a new technique and tried it out? Yes? How many of you have succeeded at that technique? How does that make you feel? Like power. And how many of you have tried a new technique and not so much? Right? So how does that make you feel? What happens when that happens? Why does that happen? Possibly because we can't ask questions. We can't get our hands into it. We can't dig in deep. So today, Matrix has sent me here today to share with you Matrix Craft Academy Balayage Essentials. And I want to thank each of you for being here. Our goal today is to transform this lovely lady into the same lovely lady with much more dimension. And for the client, it means a lot less stress on maintenance and upkeep. So we're going to talk about the expectations you have out of today's class. So each one of you came here with expectations. You gave up time, attention, money, maybe even time away from your family, possibly even a day off. Yep. Okay, so we have these expectations, and I would like for you guys to share them with me. Oh, so you want to know more about the placement? Awesome. Well, if I could spell it, that would be better. Oh, how to get enough lift. Excellent. And what about avoiding challenges? Like, how are we going to do that? How are we going to avoid spots and bleeding? You have one? Awesome. And your name is? Well, hey, Patty. Nice to meet you. You want to know about the money piece. Let's have one more. Great. Okay. So, you want to know more about whether I should use film or should I use foils? Should I use a clay additive such as our Matrix clay additive that goes with our Lightmaster? So how about choosing correct products? What? All right. So now that I know what your expectations are related to balayage, we're going to get started. But before we do, I was wondering if you had any other questions, just for clarity purposes. Hi. Well, hello, Brian. The question was, why am I a Matrix artist? That's an excellent question. But first I have to ask permission from everybody in the room if we have a few minutes to kind of detour from the subject at hand and maybe let me share with you a little bit of the story, a little bit of my journey. Do I have your permission? Awesome. Thank you so much. So, um, I'm going to go all the way back. I'm going to go all the way back to being 9 years old. Being 9 years old, and the only thing I asked for Christmas from Santa Claus was a Barbie head. That's all I asked for, because I wanted the head where I could play with it. And so Christmas morning came, and our family was, I think today's politically correct term is financially challenged. Suffice it to say, we were poor. And my mother had saved and saved and saved to get me a ring. She wanted me to have a birthstone ring. I was 9 years old. I was a little bit too old for toys, but not old enough for teenage stuff. So Mom had saved to give me this ring. She was so excited about it. And when all the gifts were open, I realized I had no Barbie head. And I was holding back the tears because my mom was putting the ring on my hand, holding it up. You know how it is when you save money and you get that person that perfect gift, like you are on it. And all you want is that you want to see their face. You want that element of surprise. And but she wasn't receiving that. And she asked me what was wrong. And I said, well, I asked for a Barbie head. And I didn't get one. Apparently Santa couldn't get me one. And I still remember the look between my mother and father, that moment where it goes, oh. And Dad said, come on, let's get this mess cleaned up. We'll talk about it in a few minutes. And in the mess cleaning up, suddenly from behind a chair in the living room, key in that my father had disappeared for a few seconds, was a Barbie head. That's all I've ever wanted to do, was be a hairstylist. So life went on, and I went to beauty school, and I started to work in a salon, and I worked in a salon in a large city for 11 years. 11 years, and I helped manage the salon. I helped grow it. It was an exciting time, and it was a time when, to make money in this industry, you had to know how to do a permanent wave, and I rocked it. I could rock some curls. Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how many perms I could do in a day. I won awards for it. But I always looked ahead, and the world was changing. And I could see in Vogue magazine, I could see that models were having straighter, smoother hair. How was I going to make a living? And at the same time, my own personal world was changing. My son was turning 5. And what was I going to do? He was supposed to ride a bus 2 hours every single day. That was not going to happen for me, and not in my world, based on a previous experience. So I was going to have to not only change jobs, but it was going to take me to a much smaller city so that I could manage the needs of my child. Combine that with the fact that I was absolutely, positively, unequivocally, bar nothing, terrified of hair color. I would volunteer to clean the ladies' room before I would color someone's hair. That fear was deep, based on one experience that left me and a teenage girl leaving a salon at 9 p.m. at night in tears. And so all the necessary changes were made, and I went to work in a salon, and they were busy with color, and I was seriously intimidated. They were offered a class. It was actually a Logix class, one of the Matrix brands, and they were going to send a representative into our salon to learn about this line, specifically the add-on to the line, imprints. And I begged for the owner. I said, come on, let's have this class. She didn't know I was terrified of hair color. Well, she probably knew, but I wasn't volunteering that information. But at any rate, the class came, and the day came, and we went through the class, and for the very first time in my career, I understood hair color. And when I understood it, the last question I asked that gentleman that taught the class, I said to him, I want your job. I want your job. Because I had been given a gift, and I wanted to share it with other people. I knew there had to be other hairdressers out there who had went to school in a time frame where the only thing they taught me about hair color was how to put it on. They would mix it up for me. So when I understood hair color, I became my mom. I wanted to share, and I wanted to give, and I wanted to see somebody unwrap that present, and I wanted them to understand how color went. That is why I'm an educator, so I can give what I have received. I'm sorry, it makes me tear up. So, my biggest strength as a facilitator? Wow, that's an excellent question. Thank you. My strength as a facilitator is obviously storytelling, even if it goes on just a little bit too long. My ability to make it relatable, my ability to communicate, my lack of fear probably helps. Doesn't mean I don't get nervous before a class. It just means that I'm not afraid because I have the knowledge. Because my company has given me the knowledge, given me the tools, set me up for success so we can set you guys up for success in the salon. And my weaknesses. I feel the need, since we're talking about my strengths. Let me tell you about my weaknesses. My weaknesses are procrastination. Oh, yeah. You've never seen me run trying to get my stuff in the car to get on the road to get to a class. As far as another weakness I would have, it would be in terms of styling. I'm good at blow drying hair. I'm just not great at it. That's a weakness. That's somewhere where I wouldn't want Matrix to put me in front of a crowd and show them how to blow dry hair, because my fear of it, my weakness in it, I feel like would just shine. And that's not a pleasant place to be in. Another weakness I have in facilitation is I like to move around a lot. I'm working on that. If you've noticed, I've stayed in the same place. That's a huge accomplishment for me. And that helps everybody in the room to stay more focused when I'm focused. We have another question over here. Okay, what is one piece of advice I would give to the next generation of matrix artists? Know your craft. Just know it. When you know it, you can own it. You can own it. You can speak to it with clarity. You can speak to it with confidence. And be authentic. Just kind of like one of our lines, which is called RAW. And RAW is an acronym for real, authentic, and wholesome. Be real. Be who you are. If you're not who you are, I promise you 100% of the time, it will show up. Authentic. Be authentic. Be like, if you've made a mistake, share it. I promise you, someone in that crowd watching you has made the same mistake, is about to make that same mistake, or is trying to avoid making that same mistake. And wholesome. Just like wholesome, just like be natural. That's one of the biggest things I would give a next generation artist. And always, 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 always continue to learn. Learn all the time. Read. Watch your YouTube videos. There's all kinds of things you can do in this industry to learn, to grow, to share. And always, the very best way to be a good educator is to make sure that when you show up to give them that present so you can watch them unwrap it. You're not there to tell them about you. You're there to tell them about what they have, what they want, what they need to be more successful. These are awesome questions, and I'm so excited to get to share my story with you, but I'm even more excited to share about balayage. So with your permission, we're going to reel this back in, and we're going to get back to the task at hand, and we're going to talk about balayage. So, let's get started.